Today, I'm actually going to be switching things up. We're going to dive into some questions.
Do you see your children going into entrepreneurial endeavors? When do you know the time is right to take a risk? Do you have a negative voice in your head? And how do you quiet that?
You're going to hear some stories about my life growing up and maybe some lessons that I learned throughout the time. My mom used to put me in these like pop-collared shirts. They had the little alligator on them. I had my hair combed like nice and perfect. And the way that my family portrayed me was this bugle boy frickin' superstar. So I think very early on in my life, I was told that you're going to be judged and to put yourself in a position that you are going to be okay with that. And most importantly, like knowing that that's going to happen. That was a good answer. Damn. Welcome to the JV Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Vasquez. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the JV Pod. Today, I'm actually going to be switching things up quite a bit. We are going into questions about my real estate journey, my entrepreneurship journey, my connecting with people journey. I don't even know if that's the right way to say that, but today's podcast is going to be a little bit different. You're going to hear some stories about my life growing up and maybe some lessons that I learned throughout the time that allowed me to be in a position of being able to grow a real estate business and portfolio and entrepreneurship, because I believe at the end of the day, you know, we're entrepreneurs. It's just what we are. And when I say we, it's because I believe everybody here listening is probably an entrepreneur. So we're going to dive into some questions that I believe may be helpful to you guys, and maybe some of these things could help you in your businesses or whatever you have going on. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What do we got first, Steph? Go ahead.
What were some of your early experiences that helped you shape your journey?
Early experiences that helped shape my journey. I will go back to, I'm going to tell a quick story on this. When I first started in healthcare, I started off as a delivery driver. And I can tell you guys, there was this guy, he looked exactly like David freaking Spade, like spitting image of David Spade. And I got a job because I was able to speak Spanish, which if you speak a secondary language, that can open up so many doors for you. And that's exactly what it did for me. I got a job delivering oxygen. I remember one day I was in the office and the dude, we're going to call him David Spade lookalike. He came into the office and he was driving this snazzy BMW, pulls up into the office, opens the door. And if you guys can think about this right now, it's basically a big open room and there's desks on each side of the room. So everybody was staring at each other on opposite sides of the room. And as he walked in, everybody was like pointing at him, like doing fake guns. And he was just like walking in. This was all slow motion for me as the fake David Spade walked through. And he just had this super enthusiastic way about himself that people just liked him. They liked to be around him. He was fun to be around. He had a good energy. And I remember turning back to my boss. His name was Victor at the time. And I was like, hey, Vic, I want to do what that guy does. And Victor just started laughing. And that was hard for me to hear because I had a dream of obviously wanting to be liked, just like most people. And I wanted to drive a snazzy car like a BMW. And I wanted to make a lot of money because that's what he did. And Vic started laughing and he said, you're a delivery driver. You didn't even graduate high school. Like, how do you expect to be a sales rep for this company when we only hire people that have college educations in business and marketing? And that hit me like a ton of bricks because it made me realize that I didn't have the qualifications to do things that I wanted to do, or at least that's what my mindset was at the time. And what ended up happening over a period of time was that David Spade lookalike, he had a bunch of crappy accounts. So basically he was a sales rep for the Central Valley, one of the number one sales reps in the entire Central Valley in California when it came to oxygen sales, CPAPs, BiPAPs, those kinds of things. And I was at durable medical equipment sales. And he had all these different markets like in Gustine and Newman, like these random areas, Livingston, California. Obviously he was only one person. And there was a role that came up and I just kept bugging my boss like, hey, I want to be a sales rep. Hey, I want to be a sales rep. I actually ended up shadowing David Spade lookalike and I became his executive assistant. So everything that I learned from him was how to be super successful, and it was all based around knowing, liking, and trusting people. And he showed me how to do that. And I later became a sales rep in time where he actually gave me the crappiest accounts that he had. So if you guys can think about A, B, C accounts, like A being the best accounts, B being like referrals that come in maybe every couple months, and C is like one every 6 months. He gave me like the C minus crappiest accounts you can possibly get. And within the first 6 months of me getting those accounts, I turned them all into A accounts, and I was able to build a pretty successful business within that company. And if I had the mindset of being told already that I wasn't able to do something because I didn't have a diploma or qualification to do so, I would have kept myself in that position. So I think it's really important that everybody thinks about You're going to be told no, or that you're not able to do something at a certain time. But if you have that in your mind, that you have a vision that you want to achieve, screw what everybody says and continue to do that on your own and ask questions. Like, I kept asking to be in that position. I kept asking for a role that I was told no to. And I can't tell you how many times asking something and being told no, that will stop so many people from continuing to do that. And for me, it really just kind of lit me up to continue to try to do something, even though I was told I couldn't.
I think that's a good illustration of the grit that you have as an entrepreneur.
Gritty boy?
You're a gritty boy.
Gritty boy.
Got a lot of charisma, you've got a lot of grit. What other personality traits do you feel like have helped you in your successful journey?
I think early on, my parents had always told me, I come from a Hispanic household. I mean, if you guys can't tell, super traditional Hispanic household. And if you guys can see, I wish we can show pictures. Maybe we will show pictures of me when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. My mom used to put me in these like pop collared shirts. They had the little alligator on them. I had my hair combed like nice and perfect. And the way that my family portrayed me was this bugle boy frickin' superstar. And the reason why they did that is because my mom and dad wanted me to have an appearance where people would like say like, oh, this guy's put together, or this guy's this way. So I think very early on in my life, I was kind of told that you're going to be judged and to put yourself in a position that you are going to be okay with that. And most importantly, like knowing that that's going to happen. And I feel like a lot of us growing up, like we don't want to be judged, but the reality is like people are going to judge you no matter what. Does your appearance play a big role in that? 100%. And so does being able to talk to people. And that's one thing that I learned early on is my parents were always like, go say hi to your uncles and your aunts and make sure you say thank you and make sure you say please and make sure you say yes, ma'am and no, ma'am, or yes, sir and no, sir. And a lot of those things I believe were super important for me growing up because it gave me that ability to start talking to people. And I think it's important to do that. I actually do that with my kids now where I'm like, you got to go out and speak to somebody. My youngest son is super shy, but I can tell you that if you're able to speak to people and you learn that very early on in your life, that it will become easier and easier as you get older. So one hack that I teach my kids, or I try to teach them, is that if we're in line somewhere, talk to the person behind you or talk to the person in front of you and just ask them a question like, hey, what are you going to get? Or, hey, what's this like? Or hey, how are you doing today? Just something simple like that to get used to having conversation with people. But yeah, the world's judgy, and I know that, and that sounds super simple, but I feel like that's a pretty simple thing to do, but it takes time and it's hard for some people.
You've really been able to build a community in your network and with your mentees. What steps have you taken to intentionally build that community?
Yeah, I didn't really understand community a lot growing up. I think I actually, when I first started to realize what a community was, it was through skateboarding. And no matter who you are, what ethnicity you are, what background you have, if you were to pick up a skateboard and go to a skate park, you'll be greeted by everybody at those skate parks. And it's, in essence, that's what a community is. Like people that you do not know, that you land a trick or you're trying to do something, they're going to encourage you, they're going to push you to do things. And to be honest with you guys, I love skateboarding. I still love skateboarding to this day. But when I was younger, I was obsessed with it. Like I would eat, sleep. I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go skate at the college before any of the police came out and to kick us out. And that community essence was always something that I felt so powerful that I could feel that no matter where I was or wherever I was going, as long as somebody was skateboarding there, I would be in that community. And it felt very encouraging because everybody's so encouraging. And for me, that's kind of where I gathered the community, the mindset of creating a community, because I think people can do stuff on their own. What's that quote? You can go far alone, but you can go further. What is that quote? I don't know what the quote is. Something like that. Anyway, you can go pretty fast alone, but you can go far with a bunch of other people. Essentially is what it is. I know I'm saying that wrong, and the internet can correct me on this, but truthfully, I believe that 100%. If you're able to join a community, a mentorship, or be a part of other people that are along in the journey that are going to encourage you, to help you to do more and to create more for yourself and to push you outside of your comfort zones, I think community is 100% about that. So for me, the skateboarding life and journey of all those years of me starting to skateboard since the age of probably about 13, and I rollerbladed before that. You guys are probably going to make fun of me rollerblading before that. I just found that sense of purpose through community, and I really just kind of dove into that when I started my specific community, which, again, we have a pretty massive community in the midterm rental space, which is pretty awesome. How
do you prioritize your health to support your success and well-being?
I feel like the two things are super connected in a lot of ways. If you're not healthy, nothing else matters. And for those of you who've been sick before, like it just sucks to have that. I lost my dad to cancer in 2017, and I don't want to choke up about this, but I actually had it written on my whiteboard. Somebody just took it off, but it said, "Don't stop taking care of yourself." And when my dad was diagnosed with cancer in May of 2017, he put his arms around me and like I gave him a hug. And I remember feeling that was the first time I actually felt the structure of my dad's back, like his actual physical structure. Like we didn't really hug very much. And he looked at me and he said, "Don't stop taking care of yourself." And my dad stopped taking care of himself probably in his 40s, started eating trash foods, eating hot dogs all the time, and ate McDonald's and just stuff like that. And he'd always say things like, "We're going to die anyway, you might as well enjoy yourself." But once my dad told me that, it made me realize that health is the one thing that we can control. It's not one thing that we can control, but it's one of the biggest things that can impact whether you live or die. And for me, I think in my life now, I try to recognize that I don't want to stop taking care of myself. In fact, I wanted to put that somewhere up where I just like always looked at it every day, because taking care of yourself can mean a lot of different things. I think right now with society, people say, take care of yourself, go do like a spa day for yourself. Is that actually really taking care of yourself, or is that actually having a salad for lunch? I think I look at nutrition in a weird way. A lot of times people make fun of me when it comes to nutrition because I don't think things need to taste that great. They just need to be, nutrient dense. And I think health is just so important. And again, if you get to a point where you lose somebody or you get sick yourself, like nothing else matters unless you're healthy. So the two are 100% correlated. And if you feel good, you're going to be good, you're going to act good, and you're going to play the part. So I just encourage everybody to continue to stay as healthy as possible, go out, exercise every day. I think that's just a powerful way to build and to continue to grow. And if you don't have health, then what else do you have? Health is wealth, right?
I really think your dad would be proud of you.
You think so? Yeah, I think my dad would be proud of me too. My dad didn't get a chance to see the success that I had post W-2 job. I think he did see me in 2017. 2015, I got a job that I was making like 100-something thousand a year, and it was pretty cool. I remember my dad being pretty stoked about it. But if my dad was able to see the life that I live now, where it's like I don't have to have a schedule, I don't have to get up in the morning and go to work, I live different, I think he would be pretty freaking stoked about that. So yeah, I'm sure he's watching somewhere.
Your dad had this entrepreneurial spirit about him. Can you tell us about some of his endeavors?
Yeah, my dad was one of those people that was incredibly smart to the point where it was almost like he was hard to connect with people. Like if you guys ever met a doctor before, a lot of doctors have these similar personalities where they're just not articulate with communicating with each other, but they're extremely smart between their ears. My dad was one of those guys. He worked for Foster Farms for years in an experimental lab. I don't want to go too much into detail of that, but back in the 80s and 90s, he was one of the guys that was pumping chickens with antibiotics to get them to grow faster. He was a biology major, incredibly smart. And he ended up in the late 90s and early 2000s, he would retire and he would go get his real estate license. He couldn't sell any properties. Then he went and got his tax, what is that called? He became a tax accountant pretty much. He went to school to do that. He went to school to become a botanist in Fresno State, like randomly while he was still working his W-2 job. And then he retired again and he bought a freaking carpet cleaner and started a carpet cleaning company called Vasquez Enterprise. So I watched my dad fail at a lot of businesses, but what I loved about seeing that, and now I'm actually paying attention to those things before, is that what he wanted to do, he went out and did it. Even though he failed at it, my dad did not have the business mindset. My dad did not have that, understanding of entrepreneurial spirit to a certain degree. I think he had that that mentality of wanting to build stuff, but didn't understand the business principles that came along with it. And I think wanting to do something and understanding business principles are two totally different things. Marketing, sales, those are all things my dad did not understand those things. I think if my dad was alive today, he would probably be working in the business with me because I think he was extremely intelligent. And I think that if he had my mind now with his actions back then, we probably would have some pretty successful businesses.
Do you see your children going into entrepreneurial endeavors?
Do I see my children going into entrepreneurial endeavors? I would love for my kids to get into entrepreneurial type endeavors. I bring my kids to all the events that I have. I try to bring them around people as often as I can. I think it's an important skill to pick up just being around people. And I believe conversations are important to listen to. But yes, my daughter right now is off to college. She's going to San Diego State to be a CPA. Do I believe that she and I will eventually have a business in CPA? I'll be working with her to some place. Absolutely. I think she has that drive. My 16-year-old son, Jonah, 100% has that drive. He reminds me of myself. I had an extremely difficult time sitting still in class. In fact, I was just talking to you about this a few days ago. Like sitting down and reading a book felt like torture to me. Like I remember sitting in class, looking around and having... just realizing that everybody could sit still and read a book for 30 minutes, and I had such a difficult time. I felt like I was in a straitjacket, like trying to get out, which I'm not diagnosed with ADHD, but I probably am to a certain degree, knowing that that's how I felt then. But I don't even know why I'm bringing that up right now, but I believe my son has the same kind of situation in him, and people that have that are creators. They want to create things. They want to build stuff, and I think that it's just putting him in the right environment to do that. So yeah, even my youngest son, I see that he's picking those kinds of things up. So I 100% would love to watch them build something. And I'm not opposed to college. I think college is a great way to continue to build. I'm not one of those people that's like, don't go to college. College sucks. You're never going to build. I don't believe that. I didn't graduate high school, so I do believe in education. I think that it is, I think it's a lot easier to get education now, but there's definitely ways to build in business through education and without. Again, we have so many different ways to build. Listening to this podcast can probably help somebody build a successful business, or listening to podcasts or watching YouTube University, right? There's so many things out there, but
there's been some risks you've taken both in your career and your life. Like, when do you know the time is right to take a risk?
When do you know the time is right to take a risk? I don't think there really is a right time to take a risk. I have always been a risk tolerant human being. Going back, I'm going to talk about skateboarding again. Once I landed a trick, I wanted to continue to do that in another way, or maybe off stairs, or maybe down a handrail. So I've always had this risk tolerance, and obviously I think it's important to weigh your options. But more importantly, you have to understand things about yourself. And if you are not a risk taker and you're creating a business, you probably need to be coupled with somebody that is a risk taker, whether that's a business partner or a spouse or significant other. To help push you in those directions, because I think that it's so important. If you don't take risks, you don't get the reward. Obviously, they need to be calculated risks. In my situation, I tend to navigate off of feelings sometimes. And just like, leaving my W-2 job, during COVID, 2020, everything was obviously not what it is now. Was everything shut down and closed. And I just realized I did not want to be doing what I was doing at that time. And I knew that the timing was right. I knew that the timing at that time was like, I leave my job now. I can always come back to this later on. But right now, there's so many people that are being affected by this environment. And if I could do it now during this downturn, I could do it when things swing around the other way. And that ultimately was one of the best decisions that I had made. And I've learned so much in the last 3 years. In fact, I got crazy amount of gray hair over the last 3 years, and I've aged myself probably 10 years. No joke. But I think that I've just learned more in the last 3 years than I have in the last 15. And that's a crazy amount of learning. And that's through entrepreneurship, a lot of it.
You've touched on the power of mindset a few different times, but do you have a negative voice in your head? And how do you quiet that?
Yeah, I 100% have a negative voice in my head. I think that most people do. I hear it every day. I think a lot of entrepreneurs hear... what's that called when people have that limiting beliefs, or it's like they're telling themselves they're going to be the worst at this, and what's that? There's a saying to that. Yeah, a lot of negative self-talk. That's it. And I feel like part of being an entrepreneur is recognizing those things and continuing to push forward anyway. And this is why I believe it's so important to be in a community, because when you start to feel that way, you're able to leverage those experiences with other people, and they're going to tell you the exact same thing. Like, I feel this way too. I feel this exact same way. I'm continuing to push forward regardless of it. And I think that some of the most successful people in the world have those same beliefs that everybody else does, and those same negative beliefs. What I'm talking about exactly is those voices in your head that saying you can't do this, you're not good enough, you're never going to make it. Those people to that degree still have that. In fact, some of the most successful people, even while they're making all kinds of cash, still have that voice that's in their head, including myself, that says, you're not doing enough. You haven't made it there yet. Are you going to make it there yet? And if you do, is this even enough? I just feel like that's such a normal conversation with people that are successful. It's just, I think it's just part of how it is.
What are your goals for this year and like upcoming?
What are my goals for this year and upcoming? I think some of my biggest goals right now are to continue to educate more people in the midterm rental space, to continue to grow, to continue to bring people into my coaching and mentorship. I actually truly love that. I love watching people come into a course with such a negative mindset of themselves and then nurture their own feelings through the community. That gives them some sort of empowerment to be able to create something that they know they're able to do. And I've watched it time and time again with my mentees where they're building these incredible lives and they're finally taking a chance on themselves and they're seeing the results of actually doing work and then the results that come along with that. And it's just so cool to watch people go from the old version to the new version. They basically have to shed that old version of themselves. So for me, I'm continuing to pour money into growing and getting out to more people to connect in the midterm rental space. And I also want to continue to buy real estate and continue to build that end up, to continue to add more assets to my portfolio. And now I'm really looking at multi-units rather than single-family homes, which I bought for years now. For the last 9 years, I've been buying single-family homes. And now I'm finally getting into diversifying my portfolio on that end and picking up commercial units to support my midterm rentals, short-term rentals, and my real estate portfolio. So that's kind of what my goals are for this year.
You inspire a lot of people in the real estate space, but who are people that inspire you?
Who are people that inspire me? I'm going to say my dad. Although my dad's not here anymore, I still have a lot of inspiration from him. In fact, I was one of those kids that as I was growing up, people would say, like, who's your hero? And, you'd hear, like, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and people would say, like, Michael Jackson, weirdo, by the way, and Barry Bonds or Mark McGuire. And, like, I was always like, my dad is my hero because he would busted his ass every single day to work at a job that he hated so that he would be able to put food on the table for our family. So that's probably my biggest inspiration is my father. There's a lot of people that I look up to in the real estate space that I love what they're doing. I mean, Pace Morby's is one of them. I think he's somebody that is building a fantastic community. It's strong, has a lot of energy, and they are there to bat for each other, which I think is great. Who else am I looking up to? I don't know. I don't think I really have a whole lot of people that I look up to in that way. I love business kind of things and stuff that people do, but I don't have these like aspirations to be like certain people, if that makes sense. I'm such a big person on individuality where obviously you guys can see me. I don't look like a traditional real estate investor. In fact, I look like a kid that just went shopping at Tilly's, but I'm a 42-year-old man, which I think that might be a little bit too old to shop at Tilly's, but I'm still going to do it. But I like that individualness. Is that even a word? Individualness about being able to be your own authentic person. Like I love indie rock. I love skateboarding still. I love music. I love guitars, drums, bass, all those things. And so many people I feel today are trying to be like each other. So it's like you have these copycats that are multiplied times 10 of each other trying to be like the Pace Morbys and the Alex Hormozis and all these influencers. When in reality, like the world just craves more authenticity. I feel like the world actually wants more people that are themselves, that are real. And just so many people are living in that alternative identity of those other people that they're trying to be like, which they aren't actually true to themselves. And I believe, again, that the world just craves that authenticity that so many people are overlooking these days. So that was a good answer. Damn.
When you look back on your journey, are there like key points that you reflect that you wish like everybody knew, everybody had that experience?
Yeah, I wish there were people that were told they couldn't do stuff. I know that might sound crazy, but I'm going to give you guys an example of this real quick. And this is like super hurtful for me to even say out loud. And if anybody's ever lived through this, I apologize because it's freaking painful. Remember how I was talking earlier about my being able to sit in class and feeling like I couldn't read a book, right? Like I couldn't sit still enough to read a book. I felt like I was different from everybody else. And that same class, I was in a classroom with a teacher named Miss Ingstrand, And this was the end of ninth grade, and she said to me, because I couldn't sit still and I couldn't sit long enough, she said, "Jesse, you're never going to amount to anything. You're never going to be able to do anything with your life. Like, you're not even able to do this, which is sit still and read a book. You're never going to be able to create something out of your life." And I still have not forgotten what Miss Inkstrand said to me in ninth grade. And that was a really difficult thing to hear. But also now I'm pretty sure she's dead. I wish I can go back to her and say, like, "Miss Inkstrand, look at me now." And what's crazy is some people will live to say that one thing to that one person. Like, that'll be the drive or energy force that will push them to create something. And for me, I don't think that's why I continue to do what I did, but I think that being told you can't do something and doing it anyway, especially from an authority figure like a teacher, that's a powerful thing to be able to, like, say, like, I was able to build these things. And yeah, I didn't go the conventional way of graduating high school or going to college. And, I did it through a lot of trials and tribulations. A lot of hardships came along the way, but I was able to build something of significant value to myself and to other people around without having the basic principles that most people think they need to have this day and age through, education and things like that. So Miss Inkstrand, you were wrong, and I forgive you for it. Yeah, well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and this was just me answering questions, which I think is fun. I'm actually going to leave you guys with a song today. Every episode that I do on this podcast, I'm going to put a song on that I enjoy. Again, you guys know about me liking music and things like that. I'm such a big music fan. You probably might not like this music, or you might like it, but I'm going to leave a song at the very end today, and it's going to be my intro song, which is "Burn the Witches" by a band called The Husbands. And check it out. It's one of my favorite songs of 2024. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope you're able to share this information, this video, with other people, because it does allow me to continue to get out to more people. And if you can, like and subscribe to this page and leave me a review. That's a huge freaking deal for me in the podcast space. Leave a review, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Check this song out. Thank you for listening to the JV Podcast. I'm Jesse Vasquez, your host. I appreciate you for listening, and if you could do me a huge solid, go like and subscribe to this. This helps us tremendously. And as always, thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Cut away, burn the witches, the weekends are haunted since the change in the seasons tonight. Don't mind them, they'll come around, not gonna let you down. You're a liar, and you know that it's alright now, because I told you it's alright now. We go la 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 somebody, catch a break or a reason to die. And don't mind me, I'll come around.